Hi everybody, it's Lisa from Flying Goat Farm. I want to thank you for staying tuned to my YouTube channel. We've done some classes on color theory and color principles, and today we're going to continue that, only we're going to start looking at some of the most popular patterns on Ravelry and how we can choose colors and combinations to really make those designs pop. First of all, I want to say, because I'm taking pictures off of Ravelry, that I am in no way criticizing what people are doing. I'm just using these as examples so we can look at color choices. Number two, I'm in no way compensated for this as well. Today, we're going to start with our first shawl, which is Doodler by Stephen West. I have wanted to make this probably for over 2 years now, but I just haven't had the time to be able to make it myself. So it's a really fun pattern. Here's a picture of it. It is a very fun pattern. It was originally a mystery knit along. So a lot of these choices that people have made were made blind, like they didn't know what part was going to be for which yarn. And so maybe that's where some of the issues with some of the color choices came about. I'm not sure what the clues were or how people were told to pick yarns for this. And again, there's probably over 4,000 projects that people have made on this shawl. Again, it's really, really fun. It has 4 sections. The first section are the striped ridges, and that's what you see here. So these are short rows that are bordered by a stripe that has eyelets in it of a contrasting color. In Stephen West's example here, you can see that he used kind of two yarns that have a lot of contrast, that kind of antique gold that's a semi-solid, and then the white does have a little bit of gold showing through, so I'm thinking it's kind of like a speckled yarn or a very lightly variegated yarn. There's a lot of contrast, like I said, so you can really see the wedges in this shawl. Here's a project. It's very elegant looking, but there's a lot less contrast. Up here is where those wedges would be, and you really can't see any contrasting color, but it's really, really elegant and beautiful. This one has a lot of contrast in it. You can see that she used a really busy variegated yarn for the short row wedges, and then she used that blue, which you can kind of faintly see within for the stripes in there with the eyelets. You can kind of see those eyelets because the yellow of her blocking mats is showing through, but you can't really, because they're all the same value, you can't really see the blue very well. You can't really see those wedges very well. And finally, here's another one that I thought was really amazing. So again, high contrast here, using the black or like a chocolatey browny black for the eyelet stripes, and then having a very lightly variegated yarn for the wedges. The second section is a cable border that you're doing. It's quite a wide cable. You can sort of see it here starting. Here's your cable right here. It's almost a pleated look. Again, this is the Stephen West sample that is on the cover of the pattern, and he's using the same yarn as was used in the stripes, the eyelet stripes, and this does give, there's a relationship between it. It kind of brings them all together. And, without looking at the pink, because he wouldn't have made that choice yet, you are picking high contrast colors that have some relationship in the variegated. Again, this one, it's using that same blue, but it's hard to see any blue in her variegated. There might have been some, but it's hard to see in this photograph. In this one, she's using the same kind of chocolatey brown for this stripe And on this last one, the elegantly looking one that's all sort of monotone, I didn't get a picture of her cable stripe, but it's kind of a tan color. And I think that what you have to do with this, the cable area, is you really want something that is solid or semi-solid, because you really want to be able to read that cable. If you have a variegated yarn in there, you're not going to be able to read the cable, and so it's it will be hidden behind all the color changes. The third section is this wavy section in here. So here you go along this border and you pick up all these stitches from the opposite corner, or opposite edge, sorry. And then there are small areas of eyelet in there that give you the wavy edge. So Stephen West, he picked, it's a semi-solid, but it does have some variegation in it. You can see light and dark areas in there. And in that pink, there is some yellow or orange, so it does, again, relate to the gold color that he's using in there, and it makes it very fun. I would also say that this is it's a split complementary in a way, because you're on the red-violet side of the pink or the red, and so that would be a split complementary with the gold, and so that's why that one works so well. This one, going back to this one, she's using a semi-solid. And here you can read those lace areas very, very well, can't you? And that's, why you want to use something that's less busy in areas like the cable or the lacy area, so that you can really see those eyelets. It takes you a lot of work to do those areas, right? So you really want them to show. Here's this elegant one, and you can see that she used a different variegated or speckled yarn. Is different from her wedge area. This one is more like yellows, and this has more of the pinks and purples in it. And again, that would be like a split complementary in there, and it works really nicely. There's just enough interest and just enough blank space that you can see those lacy areas. And finally, here's this one that is all in neutrals that I really like. And again, she used a variegated yarn that really is a darker version of what she used up in the wedge areas, and it works very nicely. But again, it's a little bit harder to read those lace areas when you use a variegated yarn. So just keep that in mind. And finally, the last part of this yummy, wonderful, fun pattern is this bind off. And there are two choices in your bind off. So the simplest version is just to do an I-cord bind off, and he's doing it again in his first color that he used up here in the cable and in the stripes, and so it kind of brings the whole piece together. And then he also includes, if you want to make it a little bit more fancy, these picot clusters here that come down within the I-cord bind off and kind of make a fun little kind of ruffly area. Really fun. So again, you can see these picot clusters really well here, where they come down within her very dark border that she again used for the cable and used for her eyelet stripes. And here's this one. Again, you can see the ruffly part right here. It's very fun. And the last one, you can see that she has the blue I-cord bind off with the, I think that's kind of a burgundy color, a burgundy ruffly area of these picots. Very fun. So in conclusion, what I think you need to keep in mind is when you are picking for this pattern, I guess I should put it this way, that makes sense. You're gonna want to have one color, this main body color here is gonna be one that's gonna be more variegated. And then you want to have your other two skeins are going to be skeins that are semi-solid or solid that somehow relate to the variegated that you have in here. Does that make sense? And for the two semi-solids, I think you'd want to pick one that is a dark one and one that is a light one. This very well done in this one, where she has a lighter, it's lightly variegated, and a very dark semi-solid. So here are some choices that I just pulled off of my shelves that I think would make a great doodler, and these are ones that I've been pulling off myself, saying, oh, do you think I have time to do this? Because I would really like to. Here are 3 yarns that I think would work really, really well. So we have a variegated, I call this wild violet. So it has some greens, some gray greens, and some violet colors in here. Using this for the wedge area. And then I have, this is a cirrus yarn that we have, and it has some texture in it, but it's all tonal, which would be for one of the semi-solid areas. And then the violet color that relates. All 3 of these colors relate and would make a really beautiful shawl together. Here's another one. Oops. Get them in control here so I can show you. So in this one I call this a deep ocean. It's got some navies, some very dark navies, some teals, some greens as your variegated. And I have a sparkly yarn there that has the blue in there. And then I have a sparkly one. I think this would be really fun. Yeah, I think I would do the areas, like the cable part would be in this. And then I'd use these 2 for the wavy area and the wedge area. Very fun. Here's another one that's on the other side of the color wheel. So this one, I love this one. It has, what do I call it? I call it burnt sunset. It's got some coral colors and some oranges, some kind of chestnutty, purpley colors, almost to burgundy. And you could pair that with a kind of a melon, because that's in there, and a pink. This would be really, really fun together. I like that. Here's another one. Now these are not the yarns I would use because this is too thick, but just looking at the color of this. So again, we have a variegated hand-painted kind of color with your blues and greens. And then I'm adding a semi-solid blue and a more solid green color. And they all relate to each other. Really pretty. And last, I love these colors. This is one of my favorite yarns that I make. It's got some gold in there, some black, purpley blues, and teal in there. Really pretty. And I would pair it, again, I have this nice green that has the sparkle in it. So that would add some jazz. And then I have the teal that matches the teal in the yarn. Let's see if I can get these to match up a little bit better. Like that. And I think these would be really, really pretty together too. So I'd love to hear and see what choices that you would like to make on a doodler, or if you've made your own doodler. So please leave a comment or leave a picture, or tag me on Instagram, something, or even point me in the direction on Ravelry. I'd love to see what you've done. And until next time, happy making!